Hello and welcome to the Wednesday live stream on Wednesday, which is nice. We're
Yeah,
going
it's
to,
nice to be on Wednesday.
it's nice to be on a Wednesday.
Mm.
Thank you for watching. If you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, thank you very much. We hope you enjoy this live stream. The aim of this live stream is to help you improve your English. Now, if it's the first time watching for you, let us introduce ourselves. Well, why don't you go first, Lynn? Tell them who you are.
All right. So my name is Lynn, and Craig has just put it at the bottom of the screen. My little organization is putitlikethis.com. It's a very small organization. It's just me, but putitlikethis.com. And that's my website. And I'm an online teacher. And I teach all kinds of courses because what I like to try to do is to try to help my students find their own voice in English. So usually the starting point for my courses is to find out what you need to say in English or read in English or write in English. So, and around the concrete objectives that you have, I create a course for you. So, so in that way, I do lots of different types of courses. So I teach teachers sometimes who have to teach their lessons in English. Sometimes I do pronunciation courses. I teach the standard exam classes for Cambridge. I teach business people to make presentations. I teach people how to write in English if they have to write things in English regularly. So lots of different things. So that keeps me interested and
Interesting.
And I hope it keeps me interesting. And the thing is, what I hope for my students is that they actually get the course that they need, not the course that is a standard course that maybe is suitable for groups of people, but maybe not for you individually. So if you're interested in that, come to putitlikethis.com.
My name's Craig, if you haven't seen me before, and my website is englishcraig.com, where you can improve your speaking because I run group conversation classes during the year, and we get together, a small group of people on Zoom, and do discussions, debates, role plays, all aimed at helping your self-confidence when you speak and improving your communication skills. If that sounds interesting, go over to englishcraig.com, send me an email, watch the video, and have a look at the courses over there. If you're a Spanish speaker, there are free courses on mansioningles.com. And if you're a podcast listener and you like listening to podcasts and multitasking while you're commuting, cleaning your flat, walking your dog, go over to inglespodcast.com and have a listen to our podcast over there where you can improve your English by listening to myself and my co-host Reza.
I don't know whether I multitask when I listen to Ingles podcast, though. I quite like it, so I sit down and enjoy it.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
very
you for the
good.
compliments.
It's very good.
So are you feeling hungry, Lynn?
Well, I will be by the end of this podcast because it will be tea time. But at the moment, I'm fine. I have to say. What about you? Are you hungry?
No, because I had a really big lunch. I was actually recording podcast today with my co-host Reza, and we had a shepherd's pie that I actually cooked myself. I was
You
quite pleased
did.
with that.
Well
Yeah.
done. Impressed. We shouldn't be talking about shopping then. We should be talking about cooking tonight.
Well, I had to do the shopping before I cooked the meal.
Okay.
So what we'd like to focus on today, vocabulary connected to shopping, mainly for food. We'll look at some words that hopefully will be new to you, at least some of them, and we'll also have some discussion based around shopping for food. So let's start off.
Maybe we can ask if you've connected. We like to try to interact with you during the live stream. So if you've connected, maybe you'd like to type in the chat what your name is and where you're from, and we can say hello. And then we'll be asking questions as we go as well.
Yep, let us know there's someone out there because sometimes we're just speaking into this microphone and thinking, is there anybody listening? So please say hi, tell us where you're from, and if you have any questions while we're going through the vocabulary, then by all means, please let us know.
Yeah.
How often do you shop for food? Write that in the chat, let us know. And where do you go to do your shopping?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we should maybe point out to everyone that we're not really going to do lots of vocabulary related to the foods you buy, because I was just saying to Craig, really, when you shop in a supermarket or a shop, usually you can point and just get it down. So it's not usually the kind of vocabulary that you might want to have it, of course, but it's not essential. But we're
Mm.
going to use the podcast to talk about shopping, because that's probably what you do more often. You talk about it, you don't talk about the individual things. So if I was to answer that question, how often do I shop for food? Well, I shop for food probably at least 3 times a week, I would say.
That's a lot. That sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah, well, we
So,
are a family. I mean,
yeah.
we are a family of 5, but I haven't got everybody living with me right now because we've got some holidays. So at the moment, it's just me and my husband. That's nice.
So is
So
that
we're
one
not going so often, but
right? Is that
normally,
one big shop and also two smaller shops for fresh food, like milk, bread?
yeah, maybe, yeah. One, to be honest with you now, it's because I like to go to different shops. I don't like to just buy it all in one place. So that's why I do 3 shops, because I spend one shop going to one supermarket. Then another day I'll do the things that I can't get in that supermarket, but I can get in the other one. I go to that supermarket. And then the third time is just for little things if I've forgotten. Uh-huh.
I never understood why people would go to more than one supermarket, and my wife
Ah,
does, and she says, "Well, this supermarket has the better whatever," and then I
yeah.
go to this shop because they have the better whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't enjoy food shopping, so I go to one supermarket, one place, and buy everything there, and then
Do
I've
you?
finished.
Ah, uh-huh. No, I have specific foods that are sometimes not available in the other shops. I mean, I don't do it. I used to do it a few years ago because of price. So that's when I started like varying my supermarkets, because I mean, we were a family of 5, and because of price.
Hmm.
Now, fortunately, that's not the driving factor. But I think because I used to use different supermarkets, I discovered the differences between their products. And now the thing that drives me to the supermarkets is actually the products.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
that
maybe
makes
I'm atypical. I don't know.
no. I don't think you are. I don't think you are, and I think price dictates to a lot of people where they shop. And also, there are supermarkets I really dislike because they don't have a wide selection of different
Hmm.
makes and brands, and it's
Hmm.
quite restricted. So I go to a supermarket that has a wide selection of food and try to do everything in one place. But maybe that's because I'm a man. I don't know.
Yeah, the
Let's
thing is, I mean, it is true that there are some supermarkets that really do have a wide range of everything. But the problem with those ones for me is they're too big. If I go to a hypermarket that theoretically has everything,
hypermarket.
a hypermarket rather
It's the
than a
second one.
supermarket, I don't like hypermarkets because for me, they take too long to do the shopping. You have to walk distances, and then you forget something, and then it takes you like 10 minutes to get and then you can't find something, and then you're wandering around aimlessly, and then the queues are so long. So I don't really like going to hypermarkets. I prefer smaller supermarkets. Uh-huh.
If you go to a regular shop, like a butcher's shop, a small shop, a local shop, there's probably a flat surface between you and the shop owner, the customer
Mm-hmm.
and the shop owner. That flat surface is called a counter. You also have a counter in your kitchen. It's the work surface. So in a
Mm-hmm.
supermarket and a hypermarket, that you have different sections. So you have the meat counter, the fish counter, the cheese counter, the dairy counter, and the deli counter where you might get a selection of
Mm-hmm.
cold meats and sausages. So the
and that
counter
and
is the
that's
area where you
where
buy
they
food.
and the reason they call it a counter is that somebody is going to serve you and pass it over to you over the counter. If it's self-service, it's not a counter,
Right.
it's just a section. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
But if somebody prepares it for you and gives it to you over the counter for you to put in your trolley, your shopping trolley, the word shopping trolley is on there too. That's a little thing you push. Then it's called a counter. Mm-hmm.
Some people might say if you're shopping for food, you're grocery shopping. A grocery shop is a shop that sells food. They very often sell food that's in tins or cans. They might sell also fresh food like meat and vegetables and fruit. So a grocery shop is a smaller shop that also sells food.
I think in cities, though, now, if you live in a city, people don't really use the word grocery, I think, shop. I
Well,
think
what's
if
it?
you live in rural areas where there's not many supermarkets, they tend to call those food shops groceries. But in the city, I think most
Well, what
people
I've
say,
noticed recently in capital cities and bigger cities, it's
uh-huh.
really hard to find a big supermarket in the center of the city.
Yeah, that's
In
true.
some
Mm-hmm.
cities. So they do have these smaller mini supermarkets that could be called a grocery shop because maybe it's because of the space. It's just so expensive
Yeah,
in some cities to rent a huge area. And I've noticed that in a couple of cities that
yeah, that's
it's
true.
you really have to go out of your way to find a big supermarket to buy food in some places.
Yeah.
What other vocabulary do we have here? Remember, if you are watching, say hi. Let us know you're out there.
Well, we have shop and store. They mean exactly the same. I think store is a little bit more American English, but we use the word store also in Britain too. And then the other words are cashier. Now that's a bit tricky to pronounce. Cashier.
Is that how you say it? I say cashier. I,
Cashier,
stre-
do you? Oh, I
I,
say
st-
cashier.
I
Really?
stress
And you
the
say
first
cashier.
syllable. Yeah, that's
Oh,
interesting.
we better look then which one of us is wrong, Craig. You check that out
It
there.
might
You
be
can
a
check that.
North England, South England thing, perhaps.
Maybe.
Cashier.
Cashier. And then till. Now, till is an old-fashioned word, really, and it was for those big machines where they had all the numbers and the little display, and you pressed the buttons. It looked like an old typewriter. That used to be called a till. And it still continues. I think people still call the cash desk the till. Go to the till. Certainly, in my part of the of Britain, we tend to say the
Yeah.
till. Uh-huh.
hmm
But it's also called in supermarkets. It's also called register or checkout, which is another word for it. And there are the express checkouts, aren't they? So do you like those, Craig? Express checkouts. They're the ones in the big supermarket where if you only have 10 things, it's supposed to make you go faster.
I very rarely use them, although I noticed last time I was in London, those smaller supermarkets that I mentioned that you find in the center of the city, they only had express checkouts. There were one or two assistants that were helping people like me, old people who didn't really know how to use the express checkout. But
But you're
there was
talking
no
about the
physical.
automatic checkout.
Yes, yes,
But
the
that's not
automatic
called an
checkout. Oh, it's not the
express
same.
checkout. That's called a
Okay,
self-checkout.
right. Oh, yeah, I'm confused.
Yeah, because you don't shop as much as
I
me.
don't shop. Yeah, I know.
The
Okay, so the
express
express checkout is
the
for
express checkout is if you have fewer than maybe 10 or 12 items, then you can
it
stand in
goes
that
quicker.
queue and
Yeah,
you can't take a trolley. It's just for like a basket if you have a
right.
basket. But no, but so you have a number of items. But there are self checkouts now that are automatic self checkouts where you scan the products
Do
and
you use
you do
those?
everything. Yeah, I use those quite a lot. I like it. It's faster. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't tend to use those. But as I said, in London, I noticed that that was the only option. You did
Yeah.
not have the option to deal with a person. It was
Uh-huh.
only automatic checkouts.
I'm
And
very interested, actually. That's something for a chat if anybody's listening to us. But I'd be interested to know what you think, because what I have seen recently, I have a little mini market a mini supermarket near my house, and it's open 7 days a week, so it's very popular.
Is
So
it
on a
more
Sunday,
expensive? Sounds
no,
like it's
not
the
at
kind of
all, not
place.
at
Oh,
all.
okay.
It's not. It's a charter,
Hmm.
so it's not at all. And the thing is, it's very popular on a Sunday because people forget things and you need something. And so you want fresh bread. So you go for one or two things. I don't go there to do a big shop because it's small. But I go there to get some fresh things or anything that I have run out of. To run out of is when you haven't got something anymore in your cupboard and you have to go and buy it again. So when I run out of things like sugar or milk, then I'll go to the mini market. And the mini market has, where you weigh your fruit and vegetable yourself
Hmm.
and you put the ticket on it. So it's all, you go around the supermarket, you weigh your own vegetables, you go to the checkout, and the girls have the checkout. But apparently, in this little mini market, there has been so much shoplifting. So much
Shoplifting.
stealing, people stealing food, and that now they are not allowing a self checkout. And now the girls at the cash desks, they are putting your fruit and vegetables, they're putting them on a scale to check that you have measured them correctly, because people are cheating. People are putting the bag
Weighing
on
them
and
and then putting
holding the
on more,
bag or
putting more
putting more
bananas.
things in the bag afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I'm thinking, wow, because I've seen shops like you in London where they have moved to automation and the people do everything themselves. But in my little mini market, it's going the other way. And because people are stealing and abusing the system,
Hmm.
that it's going back to the idea that the shopkeeper, the shop owner, calculates everything and gives you everything. It doesn't let you take things. And they have also started to, although it's a supermarket, they have got the expensive things like alcohol or shampoos or cosmetic things that are expensive. They have them in cabinets and they are locked with a key.
Hmm.
And when you are at the cash desk, you have to say, I want, and then the woman on the till, she has to take the key, open the cabinet, get out the thing, and then add it to your basket.
Well, they've done that for a while with
It's
expensive
quite
items like
interesting. Uh-huh.
alcohol and whiskey and
Yeah.
expensive
Uh-huh.
champagne and even razor blades that are quite
Yeah.
expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But they're probably doing it for more products because people are shoplifting, as you
More.
said. So
Uh-huh. Yeah.
shoplifting, stealing from a shop.
Mm-hmm.
And Lynn spoke about a trolley before, which is a
Mm-hmm.
big basket on wheels and a small basket, a hand basket, if you don't have much to buy. Now, trolley can be called a shopping cart in American English, and
Oh,
you
that's
probably
right.
have seen that word
Uh-huh.
shopping cart on websites when you check out of a website
Ah,
and you
that's
buy
right.
something online. That's your shopping cart in Amazon, for
Card.
example.
Yeah, that's right. Uh-huh.
And
And
when
then
you
there's two other words in there as well we maybe need to mention for pronunciation. Receipt. Notice receipt. We don't pronounce the P.
Mhm.
Receipt. And that is the piece of paper that you get after you pay, which details what you have bought and how much money you've paid and what change you have been given. And the other word is aisle. Aisle, which is a very strange word to pronounce as well. Aisle. It sounds like I will. Aisle. I'll
contraction, yeah,
go. The same
I'll
pronunciation. Aisle. And the aisle is the the corridor between the shelves of the products in the supermarket. And so you usually go up and down the aisle choosing your things, and then you go into another aisle. So there might be an aisle for fish products, and there's an aisle for cosmetics, and there's an aisle for, or sometimes in the big hypermarkets, they're numbered, aren't they? And
yeah.
they have big signs showing you where to find things.
And if something falls off the shelf, or you knock something off the shelf and it breaks and there's food on the floor, you might hear cleaner to aisle 6, and then someone goes over to clean up the mess. Of course, you
The
also
mess.
have an aisle in a church, and you have an aisle in an aeroplane. So again, that passage that goes down the middle of the seats or of the shelves.
Now, here's a fun fact, Craig.
Hmm.
This is a question for you, and it's supposed to tell you something about your personality.
Oh
When
dear.
you go shopping in the supermarkets, do
Yes.
you always go down the aisles in the same way? Or do you go a different way every time you go to the supermarket?
It depends.
Do you know that question's in a personality test?
Is it really?
It is.
Yeah. Well, I can guess why you're asking, but my answer is it depends if I'm shopping with a shopping list, in which case I know in my local supermarket where I need to go. So I just go up and down the aisles, taking things off the shelves, and then just follow the list. If I don't have a list, then I'll systematically go down every aisle, just looking and checking that I've remembered everything, because it's a good way to not to miss anything that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need. But I think you're asking because if you have to walk somewhere from A to B every day, do you always walk the same way, or do you like to vary the way you go for variety in your life, or are you very focused on habit and not changing your daily habits? Is that why you're
Yeah.
asking?
I don't know, but it's in a personality test.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I've often discussed it with students, and people have very different answers. So I thought
What
I
would
would
your
ask you
answer
it.
be?
Well, for me, I'm a very efficient person. I very rarely go to the supermarket without a list. Only when I'm on holiday.
Hmm.
Only when I'm on holiday do I enter a supermarket without a list. Otherwise, I never go into a shop without a list. And because I go for a list, I go where I know the products are. Because I hate time food shopping. I don't like the activity. So I try to spend the minimum amount of time in the shop.
Do you ever buy food online to save time and get it delivered to your house?
No,
That's a time saver.
it is. Do you?
We used to. We used to do a big shop maybe every 2 or 3 weeks or every month and buy the heavy stuff, because where we live in Valencia, the water from the tap, the tap water is not very it's safe, but it doesn't taste very nice because they put a lot of chlorine in the water. So we buy our water, which is very heavy.
It's very heavy to carry up.
So to get the cleaning materials delivered, the water, the heavy stuff, it made a lot of sense to have one big shop and get it delivered. We don't do that anymore because
No.
we've got a supermarket right next to where we live. So it's really convenient to just go down and do the shopping. But before we did, yeah, for a while.
Yeah, no. The thing that puts me off buying food online is especially with
What does put me off mean?
deters me. It to deter. It doesn't. I don't like it. It dissuades me from doing it. The opposite of persuade. Um, the thing that puts me off is that the I like when I see fruit and vegetables and fish and fresh food, I like to choose it. And the idea that somebody else chooses it for me, I don't really like.
Yeah.
I'm always a bit, although, I mean, people say that they get very good quality food delivered online because usually the supermarkets don't want to have complaints. So the food is very, very good that they send you. But,
You like to
I'm
see it.
not.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah. And like
We
when
used
I
to
buy,
combine the two. We used to get
uh,
the heavy stuff that it really doesn't matter what you choose, and then personally go to buy the fresh
yeah,
food, the
the
meat,
fresh
the
food.
fish, the cheese,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of people do, and Amazon is very aggressive in its marketing now to try to get you to shop online. But it's not something I've ever done, really. Not for food.
Let's move on. More vocabulary. I mentioned right at the beginning that I like a supermarket with a wide selection of different products and brands. For example, if you want a tin of tuna, It's nice to have a selection of 4 or 5 or 6 different brands of tuna and not to have the own brand of the supermarket. So the supermarket's own brand is they buy the tuna from outside and then they put their label, their name on it. For example, here in Spain, we have a supermarket called Mercadona, which I really don't like, and their own brand is Hacendado. And sometimes that's the only thing you can buy is their own brand products. And that annoys me because I think, well, I'd like to have a choice of at least 1 or 2 other brands. Do you feel the same way? Or do you
Yeah,
like
I
Mercadona?
no, I do like Mercadona as a shop. I do, but I stopped by. I don't buy everything in Mercadona anymore. I used to buy when my kids were very small. To be frank with you, it was the only supermarket that I could enter with the double buggy. So I loved it because all the other ones, the aisles were too small and I couldn't go along with the twins in the double buggy. But it's true that the fact that they went to exclusively their own brands for most things, that put me off.
Yeah.
And then I started to discover other supermarkets. And then because I've discovered other supermarkets, now that's why I go to specific supermarkets for this, specific supermarkets for that, and other supermarkets for other things, So I do chase certain brands, but I actually go to some supermarkets for their own brand because it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a well-known brand, but I do make distinctions between the own brands of certain things. For example, I go to do you use the German discounter shops? I don't know if in all the world there are German discounters. I know in Europe, the German discounters like Lidl and Aldi, they're all over Europe. And I think they've expanded into America now too.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Pacific, in New Zealand, Australia, but maybe they're not in South America. I don't know. But these were big supermarkets that came in and they specialized in cheaper food because they didn't do lots of like the supermarket itself was quite basic. They would put the pallets of the food. So it wasn't such a nice experience to buy in the shop, although that's changed now, I think. And I started going to some of those German discounters, and some of their own brand goods is better than some of the most well-known brands there are. And that's why I go to them for specific things like my dishwashing tabs for the dishwasher and my detergents. I will buy from Lidl because they're very good quality detergents.
Okay. Well,
So,
we don't have any near us. I think if we did, we
uh-huh.
might shop there, but
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't because again, they don't tend to have a large selection of products. I do know that Aldi has very good bread. So if I see an Aldi,
yeah.
I'll dive in
Mm-hmm.
there and buy some
Mm-hmm.
fresh bread. I really like their bread.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if we had one closer, we probably would use it. They are
Yeah.
cheaper because they buy in bulk. That
Mm-hmm.
expression to buy in bulk is they focus on one product, they buy a lot of it, which means they can reduce the price
Mm-hmm.
of the product. Let me put that in the chat as well, to buy in bulk, which saves money.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing I never did years ago is to look at the labels of the food before I buy it, just to
Oh.
check
Mm-hmm.
the ingredients. And now I,
Mm.
I try to do it, but because I'm getting older, it's hard for me to see what's written on the label. I should have done it the other way around, shouldn't I? When I was younger and I had good eyesight, I should have read the
Uh-huh.
labels more.
Yes.
But
Uh-huh.
do you do that? Are you
Yeah,
concerned what's in your
always,
food? Yeah.
always. Yeah, I've always read labels. Um, yeah, I think all my life I've read labels because there's certain things that I try to avoid.
What do you look for? What do you try to avoid
I
in
try
food?
to avoid unnecessary things in there. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if it's bread, I don't like sugar in bread. And there are many, many brands of bread that have sugar in them. I think it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look for things like preservatives, like the E's or the additives, the flavorings. And it's not that I don't eat them, because I do eat some foods that are processed, absolutely. But I try to avoid, like, there are things that I know taste great without anything added. And so I try to go for the least possible.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's difficult. For
Yeah.
example, jams, jam that you put on your bread in the morning. For example, that's why I go to Aldi, because Aldi have a jam that has no added sugar in it. It's
Yeah.
just the fruit. And that's very difficult to find. You can't even find it in a hypermarket, So there are things that I go, and the bread, as you said, bread, the German discounters, the Germans make bread without sugar. But the Spanish don't seem to like making bread without sugar. I don't know
No.
why, but
Yeah, especially the
the
pre-packed
processed
sliced
bread,
bread,
yeah,
the
the
processed
sliced
bread,
bread.
like Bimbo, that's got too much sugar in it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So moving on with some more vocabulary, pre-packaged food. If you think about it, quite obvious. If it's packaged, it's in a packet. And if it's pre-packaged, then it's packaged before. So before you actually buy it, it's already in a package, which is different from buying fresh food at the meat counter, for example, where you would say, I'll have some of that meat, and they cut it and they package it for you on the spot, which
And
means
it's the same with the
immediately.
fruit and the vegetables. Sometimes the fruit and the vegetables is already on a tray with a plastic covering on it. So it's
Pre-packaged.
already like a certain amount of fruit and veg, and that's pre-packaged, as opposed to pick your own,
So when you see that pre at the beginning of the word, you know that means before. Pre-boarding, before you get on a plane, it's another example. Frozen food is another example of describing food. So if food is frozen, it's it has been, well, it's been frozen. It's to preserve it. And then food can also be preserved in a can or a tin. Those are synonyms, aren't they? Do you have a
Yeah,
preference? Do you say canned food or tin food? Do you say a
tinned
can
food,
of
I
Coke or a
say.
tin of Coke?
I say can of Coke, but I say
Me
a tin
too.
of peas.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What do I say? I say can of Coke as well, and probably both. Yeah, I say can of peas or tin of peas. Yeah, I'd say either.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think can of Coke. I think can originally was like American, tin was British. And
Hmm.
probably we all say can of Coke because Coke was American and it was like, have a can of Coke. I think that's where we started to say can.
Yeah, and canapé is a small like finger food that you have before a meal.
And the can,
You
this is
didn't get you
totally
didn't
off
you didn't
in American English.
you didn't get that, did you?
No,
Cannabis.
go on, tell me. Can of,
Canapes? Oh,
oh, can of
yeah, never
peas.
mind.
Oh God,
Canapes.
Craig.
Sorry, go, go ahead. That fell
I was just
flat.
about to tell them the other meaning of the word can in American English means toilet, but
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Going to the can, going to the
yeah,
toilet.
yeah.
Takeaways. You can take away food. So that's a phrasal verb or a phrasal noun, to go and get a takeaway. Takeaway food. You can also buy takeaway food from supermarkets. It comes pre-cooked and pre-packaged for you, which is something that we hardly ever do. I can't remember the last time we bought takeaway food from a supermarket.
Well, they're selling it more and more now, I think, aren't they?
For convenience. Yeah.
Yeah, for convenience takeaway foods. Household goods are things that you use to clean the house with, or toilet paper, anything that isn't edible but you need it for the house is really
Cleaning
household
products.
goods. Beverages. Notice that
Drinks.
one. Beverages, 3 syllables, not beverages. All right, so beverages, beverages. And beverages means drinks, any kind of drink. It can be alcoholic, non-alcoholic, any kind of drink.
Tea,
It can be
coffee.
hot, cold. Detergent. Beverages is what you see on the sign on the aisles in the big hypermarkets. You'll see beverages, and you know that that's the aisle where all the drinks are. Detergents, I think, is pretty universal, isn't it? To wash your
Yeah,
clothes with, to
wash your
clean the
clothes.
house with. Hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Toiletries. 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 Funny word to spell as well. And toiletries has nothing really to do with the toilet. It's got to do with any product that you use for personal hygiene. So toothpastes, toothbrushes, shampoos, soaps.
Deodorants.
Those are toiletries, deodorants, things that you take with you when you're on holiday. Yeah.
And finally, we've got cosmetics,
Mm-hmm.
makeup, cosmetics, things that you use to make yourself look handsome and pretty. Lipstick, eye makeup, that kind of thing. You'd find those in the
Mm-hmm.
cosmetics section. So these are some of the, as Lynn said, some of the labels you might see on the signs, which is something that I sometimes do. I'll go to a person who's working in the supermarket, say, excuse me, where are the cleaning products? And then they just go,
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and they
because
look,
I
oh,
never look, I
that's not
never look at
nice.
the
Uh-huh.
signs.
Oh, but
Yeah,
you should look at the signs.
you
But
should
this
look
is
at the
what I was
signs.
saying to you earlier. You see, I think for all of you who are watching, the words that you should focus on, I would, if you had to prioritize your vocabulary learning, I would prioritize those because that's what you need to ask somebody where to find something.
Yep,
When you get in the right place, you will see with your own eyes the kind of food that you want, you know. But it's those kind of words that you need to understand. You need to understand them on the aisles, and you need to, or if you need help, you need to ask somebody. Uh-huh.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Now, as we were talking before about different supermarket chains, a chain is a group of different stores or shops or companies or banks. You've got the main office, the head office of the company, and you've got lots of different places where you can find the same supermarket or bank or whatever. So you talk about a supermarket chain. Let's say in Spain you've got Mercadona, or you said Charter before, that's another chain. And also you have chains of banks. So that word chain would be used to describe the same company, the same business, but many different shops around the country.
Mm-hmm. And some shops are cooperative. We have those. Consume is a
Yep, it's a
cooperative, and the
co-op.
Charter chain as well. Um, so, and then you got this question: what's your go-to chain? And the go-to, that's in little inverted commas there, it means which chain do you always go to? Which one do you
Your
always like because
favorite.
it's your favorite? So, what's your go-to chain, Craig, in
Consume.
Spain?
I like
Consume.
Consume. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
closest to us, and it's also the one I like because, as I said before, it has the variety of different
Uh-huh.
products, and it's a
Yeah.
co-op, which I like.
Yeah.
So
Which me
the
too.
employees will get a small percentage of the profits of the company, and that's where the
Mm-hmm.
idea of cooperative comes in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I mentioned earlier you might ask somebody where things are in a supermarket, and very often that will be the person who's stacking the shelves. Lynn mentioned shelves before. Remember, along the aisle of the supermarket, on both sides, you have the shelves. So the person who's stacking the shelves is a shelf stacker, and they're just putting the products back on the shelf once they get bought.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you have sometimes the things that you want are on the shelves. That means they're in stock, but sometimes they're sold out, and that means they're out of stock, and you can't buy them. You have to wait. So sometimes, if the shop assistant says this is in stock or it's out of stock, come back tomorrow, then you've got a problem there. And then we have the word shoplifting, which we were talking about before. And then the other one is security tags. And sometimes if the product is expensive, then often they are beginning in Spain, they're putting, well, either a big security tag on, for example, a bottle of whiskey, and then they, at the checkout, they need a special tool to release the security tag. Otherwise, you set off the alarms if you leave the shop. But sometimes also now, especially on cosmetics, they have little sticky tabs, which are also security tags. And if they haven't passed the scanner shelf, then the scanner till, then when you leave the store, the alarm will go off. Those really bother me because they're very difficult to get off. They're very
Yeah,
sticky and
yeah,
not
yeah.
very nice.
I hate them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we do have someone watching.
Oh, finally.
maybe
Hi,
maybe
Jose Luis.
Jose Luis has just been doing his shopping and he's just come back home.
Good, because I
So
think everybody else is in the shops. This has
I
never
think
happened to us
everybody else is
before.
shopping in the supermarket. Yeah. So let's ask a question now that we've looked at some vocabulary. What do you think are better? Big supermarkets, small grocery stores, outdoor markets where you can go and buy your fresh food? We don't often shop in outdoor markets, although I do like them. I do think they've got a
Me
lovely
too.
atmosphere and they're very informal, but there don't seem to be many around where we live.
Well, in not where you live, but in Spain, there are many. I mean, Valencia's got a massive, the central market is amazing.
Yeah.
And I must say, I love shopping in Spain, sometimes they're indoor, they're not necessarily outdoor, but they are markets where people have their stall. Everything is not packaged, nothing is tinned or canned, everything is fresh, and they pack it up and give it to you. And the markets are usually only open in the mornings. They don't have these long opening hours until 10 o'clock at night or whatever. It's just usually in the mornings. And I have to say, that would be my go-to favorite place to shop.
The outdoor
However,
market. Yeah.
yeah, however, they're simply not convenient for my lifestyle. My lifestyle is I haven't got the time to spend all morning, which you have to do if you go to a market, because you have to buy. There's a different stall. A stall, stall, is like the area for every different product. So you have to go to a stall for your cleaning products, a stall for your cosmetics, a stall for your fruit, a stall for your vegetables, a stall for your oil, and that makes it very time consuming. It's very pleasurable sometimes not, because if it's very busy, it's also not pleasurable because you have to wait in multiple queues,
At the checkout.
which of course at the checkout in a supermarket you don't. It's one queue and that's it. You're done. So you do have to have time in outdoor markets. So for me, it's not the convenient choice. But when I retire and have nothing to do, then maybe I shall enjoy my shopping once a week in the outdoor market.
Yeah, I enjoy them as well, but I think I go to different places for different reasons. If I don't have time, I'll go to a big supermarket. If I want to chat with the local storekeeper, the person who works in the small local store, and we do have a few in my
Yeah,
area, then it's really nice to go and get
it
your
is. It's
fruit and
lovely.
vegetables from a person who has a field and will actually bring them to the shop to sell them. And you get to know people in your
Yeah,
area,
no, no,
in your
no.
neighborhood, and it's lovely to have a chat. And the fruit and vegetables in local stores in my area, local grocery shops and greengrocers, they're much better quality than
Yeah,
you'd find in a big supermarket.
yeah,
And
definitely.
as you say, outdoor markets in the center of the city, yeah, that's time to travel in, do your shopping, travel back home again. It's the whole morning gone.
Yeah. But you know what? We do that. I do that once a year for Christmas. When
Christmas
we do
shopping.
our Christmas shop, we always go to the big market and we take a morning and we enjoy shopping and buying all the kind of things that we don't see in the supermarkets. It's like a special, for me, it's like a special outing to go to the outdoor market. Or if I'm on holiday, then I'll go to the outdoor market and actually enjoy it.
And I heard you've lived in Germany, that in Germany at Christmas time, the outdoor markets are very special.
Oh, they are. They're lovely. They're very
Very,
nice.
very nice.
Mm.
What do you do when a product you need is out of stock? Doesn't happen often in a big supermarket, but it can happen.
You asking me what I do?
Yeah.
I throw myself on the floor and I have a tantrum.
No, I don't believe
No,
that.
I don't do that. No. What do you do? What do you do? You
Go somewhere else, or you just
buy
don't buy
some.
it.
You just don't buy it. You compromise. You change your meal plan.
So
Or
something,
I don't know, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, I improvise, you know?
yeah. Yeah, if it's not important, then yeah, you just buy something similar or you just don't buy it. But if you're not shopping for food, then you could order it so that they would get it in stock. If a product is in stock, they have it in the shop, in the store. And if it's out of stock, then they've run out. I think we had that phrasal verb before. To
We
run
did. We
out
have
of
run out.
food, you don't have any. You've run out of milk, you don't have any milk in your fridge. You've run out of tuna, you need to go and buy more. So if they've run out of something, they're out of stock.
And Claudia says she chooses another product.
Yeah.
Top marks, Claudia, for intelligence. That was a very silly question.
Well, it was to teach out of stock.
Oh, to teach out of stock. Sorry, Craig.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm pulling your leg.
There's
Sorry.
method. There's method in my madness. Another question then. Let's see if you like this one. How do you plan your grocery shopping to ensure you buy everything you need without overspending? You've already said you make a list. You're a list maker.
Yeah, but I don't know whether making the list always stops you overspending. That doesn't always work, you know. If you have I mean, you might, because to be honest with you, I go to the supermarkets, but I really don't know the prices of many products. I would be lying if you said to me, how much does your bottle of milk cost? I don't know.
I haven't got a clue. A euro.
How much I know a few products that and or I might pick it up and think, oh, this is expensive. Like I might know a range, but I don't know the exact price. But I think that that really depends on what your position is, because there were times in my life when I had to be very careful about what I spent, and then I remembered what things cost a lot more. Where if you're in the fortunate position that you have a job and you have a little bit extra, then you maybe don't pay so much attention to the pennies. But it's not easy to ensure that you can buy things without overspending. And some people have difficulties, and it's not easy.
And I've
I
noticed the
think.
prices have really gone up recently as well
Yeah, because
with
I've
food.
also seen in supermarkets people who get to the cash desk and then when the prices come up, they didn't have enough money and so they've had to put things back.
Yeah.
So it is a difficult thing that, I mean, I suppose you could go around with a calculator and add up, but I always found like, I try to think like more or less roughly. I think there's 5 and 6 and 7, but I'm always a long way out.
Yeah.
I'm always
Wh-
surprised at how much more expensive it is when everything is properly added up.
I've got a couple of ideas. One idea we've already spoken about, and that's make a list, because very often if
Uh,
you go without a list, that's when you're picking things off the shelves at random, and maybe you end
yeah,
up buying things you don't necessarily need and you're
yeah,
overspending. So that's
that's
one
clear. That's
way.
clear.
And the second idea is to go after you've eaten. If you go shopping on a full stomach, you tend to buy fewer things because you're not hungry. And it's when you're
Yeah,
hungry that you're buying more food.
yeah, that is true. That is they're very good advice, that I think. And I'll tell you what it's interesting because people do it differently. I mean, do you write a shopping list?
Yeah, but I usually forget to take it with me. I leave it here
So
at home.
do you write it by hand on a piece of paper?
Yeah, because it's an ongoing list. So it's in the kitchen, on the counter. Remember that word, counter?
Yeah, on the
On the
counter,
kitchen
and then you
counter.
add
And
it
when I
on.
think of something, I notice something's
Then you add it
missing,
to the list.
I add it to the list. And then I leave the list at home and I get to the supermarket and I don't remember what I need to buy.
Well, get this. I'm going to tell you what my husband does, right? Because I do that. I
On his
like my
mobile phone.
handwritten notes.
Ah, okay.
And my husband just didn't like that. So now he has a list on his mobile phone of all the products, more or less. I mean, he didn't put them all in at the beginning, but gradually it's built up. And he has a list of all the products that we buy. And so if I say, if he has to make the list to go to the supermarket, then he sits there on his mobile phone and he says, yeah, we need this, we need this, we need this. And he comes with his mobile phone and he's got it all there. So you could extend that if you put the prices in, and then you would know straight away if you could afford it or not.
Well, you're like this because, we were talking earlier about shopping online. When we used to shop online on the web page of the supermarket.
Oh, well, that would add it up for you as you're going, yeah?
Yes, but also what I think you're like is that they will save your list. So if you're doing a monthly shop and you know that every month you use one packet of detergent for your washing machine and you know you're going to need that every month, all of those things that you buy on a regular basis
They're all
are
there.
automatically there.
Yeah,
so you
that's
just pull up your
helpful.
list, read it quickly, and just add one or two extra things that you might need.
Yeah.
It's really efficient to do it that way.
Yeah, that is efficient.
Claudia,
so we've got some more people joining us now. I'm happy about
says
that.
It doesn't stop me. Oh, that was that was the question about without overspending. So it doesn't
No,
stop
I
her.
think it was maybe it was she just buys something else if something's not in stock. I think she's joking.
If it's not in stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the prices in Argentina. Argentina are bad because of inflation.
And I think the inflation there must be very difficult to manage because every week the things that we had that in Spain a little bit at the beginning of this year, we had high inflation and the food prices were just going up and up for but they seem to have stabilized now. But it is quite scary, I have to say, and it must be very difficult, I think, in places where there's very big inflation. It's difficult to manage that, I'm sure. Well, I hope it stabilizes in Argentina soon for that.
Yeah. Hi, Marlene. She's here. Marlene. She says, what did I miss? Absolutely nothing. We've just been talking about food and shopping, so don't worry.
We've just been gossiping as always, Marlene.
You can watch the replay if you're interested in food vocabulary and shopping vocabulary. Hi, Ignacio. He says, I make a list, but like me, he usually forgets something. It's difficult to do the shopping. Yes, it is.
But he says, good piece of advice. Make a list in your mobile phone, he says.
Yeah.
So I will tell my husband, Ignacio, that you thought his advice. I don't do it, but I'll tell him that I've passed on his wisdom.
At least if it's in your mobile phone, you'll probably have it with you when you actually get to the supermarket.
Yeah, that's true.
Marlene also writes a shopping list on her phone, but it's easy to remember what she needs to buy. Yeah, that's the secret.
Yeah.
She also says it's a bit boring, but it saves a lot of time.
True.
Yeah, and Claudia, you never know what the price will be. True. Okay, I think we've got one or two more questions. What's this? What are some common marketing tactics supermarkets use to influence your buying decisions?
Now, this is a really interesting question because you and I will give the same answers, but because people are in different countries here, it would be interesting to know if these practices are like globalized or not. So, I mean, I think in Spain, the ones that we have here are things like 2 for 1. So if you buy 2 of the same product, you get it for the price of 1. Or it's buy 3, get 1 for free, 3 for 2, 2 for 1, 3 for 2. What else do they give?
Well, there's a point system at the supermarket I go to where they have their loyalty card. And
I like that.
The points on the loyalty card, and then after a while you get
a voucher.
You
get a discount.
Or a discount. So that's another incentive to shop there, a loyalty card. But there's a whole psychology around how things are placed in a supermarket. And we might have spoken about this before, but it was a long time ago. The idea that usually people go to a supermarket very often to buy milk and bread. Well, if you separate milk and bread, which are very common things to buy, and you put them at opposite ends of the supermarket, you're going to have to walk up and down all of the aisles of the supermarket to get from the milk to the bread or the bread to the milk. So separating common items is one way to get you to walk past other products.
And of course there are also I mean, I used to work for a cosmetic company, cosmetic and detergent company. And in actual fact, in the big hypermarkets, it's not random which shelf the products are on. The companies who make the branded products pay the supermarkets to have their position on certain shelves. So the shelves that are most popular are the ones that are at eye level, for example.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Or if you are at the end of an aisle, that's also a position that the companies pay for that privilege. Or to be at the cash desks as you're leaving.
Right. Yeah.
Or to promote your 3 for 2 offer and to have it at the entrance. Those things are actually paid for. So really, to be honest with you, you're not, they're not really good offers, because in the end, that's what puts on the price anyway. Yeah, that's what makes those branded products more expensive than others,
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, the placement of particular products is important. For example, putting the sweets and the chocolates at the checkout, because if you're with children and kids, they get very impatient waiting in the queue. You're more likely to pick up a sweet and pay for that as you leave, or having the alcohol near the checkout so that you buy a bottle of wine or some beer as a kind of reward for doing the
because you
shopping.
stood in the queue for so long. I need a drink.
Or the smell of bread if they have a bakery
The
to
smell
make
of
it
bread is
feel,
important.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there are
Claudia
different
said something
techniques.
interesting, which we don't have here in Spain. She says in Argentina, they give you a discount if you pay cash.
Oh, really?
Interesting. Because here in Spain, cash is practically not being used in supermarket. Everybody is paying with cards or their mobile phones now. And it's actually quite rare to see in the supermarkets I go to, nearly nobody pays cash.
Yeah, we're going towards a cashless society
Yeah.
slowly.
So that is interesting that to pay cash, because I used to pay cash all the time, but now I don't.
And Ignacio's good use of vocabulary here. Ignacio says, I always pick up special offers over the counter. Well done.
Pick up, that's great.
Yeah. And Marlene says, visually, I would say visually, Marlene, visually appealing packaging and labels for organic food influences. I wouldn't repeat the object there, so there's no need for it. So the visually appealing packaging and labels for organic food influence my purchases a lot, given the fact that I'm health conscious, not healthy, health conscious. She says she's always on the lookout for low fat products. So as we were saying before, Marlene is probably someone who reads the labels and the small print.
Well,
know
you
what's
have to
inside
as
the
well,
foods.
because there is a lot of organic. Everybody is putting organic on the packaging now. And then when you read the back, most of it isn't.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really careful. You do have to read the labels.
I've noticed that with cereal, because I was looking for cereal a couple of weeks ago that was a bit healthy, but I noticed that most of the cereal's full
They're
of
not
sugar,
healthy.
it's full of additives, and it seems like a healthy product, but when you
And it's
read the
not.
small ingredients, you realize that no, they're putting extra
not.
sugar in. It's not healthy at all.
The other thing that they've done in Spain this year, because of the inflation, is because the prices were going up and consumers were like stopping buying. Like you would see, I used to buy chocolate for cooking and it came in a 300-gram bar, and it was getting really expensive. And then suddenly it was cheaper. And the bar looked exactly the same, but the bar only had 250 grams in it. And they'd made the chocolate thinner. So it was the same dimensions, like in terms of length and width, but it was actually thinner. And then I realized that many of the products who you thought they had not increased the prices, what they did was reduce the sizes,
There's a name for
which was a
that.
bit, is it? What's that?
Shrinkflation.
Oh, thank you.
I've put it in the
Shrinkflation.
chat, and I noticed that with soap that I've been using for years. Spanish-made soap in a yellow packet, and I noticed that it was a smaller packet, and the older packet had the number on it, the weight. I think it was 100 grams or 150 grams, and the smaller one, where it had shrunk, got smaller, didn't have the weight on it.
On it, look
And
at that.
visually, I could see that it was smaller, same price. So they're making money, and that's really dishonest. They're really
I think
tricking
that's
you.
a bit dishonest.
It's a horrible thing. So I've changed brands of soap just because of
Yeah.
that.
Because the products are getting smaller, but we're not, are we?
I'm definitely not getting smaller. So I'm
Me
eating
neither.
too much chocolate.
Maybe it will be good for us in the end if we have smaller quantities,
I need to
maybe.
shrink a bit. In Argentina, bank transfers also allow you to pay less.
Oh, wow.
And Ignacio says, yeah, another technique that shops have to offer a discount, 2 for 1, 3 for 2. Yeah, that's a good deal.
Well, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. In the big hypermarket near me, if you calculate the price of the 3 for 2, it's exactly the same.
Oh, really?
And sometimes it's even more expensive. You have to be really careful. But in Spain, though, we do have good labeling, because if you look very detailed on the shelf, the label tends to tell you the kilo price or the unit price.
Yep.
And
price
that
per kilo.
allows you to compare. But the big supermarkets with those 3 for 2 offers are often a bit cheaty, I think.
You've got to watch. You got to watch it. You got to watch these big companies.
You do.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. So after talking about food, I think it's time we went and had our dinner.
Have you been shopping for
feeling
dinner? I hope you
hungry.
have the food already, or do you have to go shopping now?
No, I don't need to go shopping. It's getting late here. It's 9 o'clock, so supermarkets are closing.
Yeah.
If you are a Spanish speaker, you might be interested in going to the website mansioningles.com, where you can study for free. Lots of courses and material there. There's a weekly podcast at inglespodcast.com that also helps you with your listening skills and all aspects of your English. And if you want to improve your speaking, englishcraig.com is the place to go, especially if you need some practice just speaking and improving your confidence a little bit and being more effective when you're communicating. There are courses at the moment. I'm taking a break in August, but we will be back again in September. But if you get in touch today or tomorrow, then you'll be okay to join July's course. I think there's 1 or 2 places left. Lynn?
Okay, my name's Lynn. I'm at putitlikethis.com. That's my website. If you want to get in touch with me, just go to the website. And I make tailor-made courses, so individual courses to help you do what you want to in English. So if you need to write, or you need to speak, or you need to listen, whatever skill it is that you need to improve, or your grammar, or to pass an exam, or your pronunciation, you tell me exactly what the things are that you need and you want, and I'll try to put a course together for you and make it interesting.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for keeping us company and listening. There will be one more of these live streams before, over here in Europe, we break up and stop for the summer. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with a different topic. Please join us for that.
Yeah.
And until next time.
Will we be on Wednesday, Craig? Maybe we should tell them. Are we on Wednesday or Thursday next time?
I'm fine for Wednesday. I'm okay
Me
for
too.
Wednesday.
There we are then. So we'll be back on Wednesday
8 o'clock.
at 8 o'clock. Yeah.
See you then. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.